Hello everybody, it is N, and today I'm going to be doing another Stephen King book review, and you know what it is. It is the newest Stephen King book, Elevation. This just came out, I believe, 4 or so days before I'm filming this, and I read this, I got it last night at about 6, and then I finished it this morning. So it took me about a day, and this thing is short, man. This thing is only like, what is it? It's 135 pages, and even so, like, look at the margins. Like, look at that. There's nothing in there. If you look at, but the cover is really nice. I actually like that. Comparing it to a normal book, just like another YouTuber I saw, Mr. Lauren. I'll be responding to some of the stuff that you said in your video. Here you go. This is a normal book. It's absolutely minuscule, right? So I'm gonna go into that. And first of all, I want to say that I know some people really hate this book. I'm not on that side. I don't hate this book. I have problems with it. It's not Stephen King's best work. It's not his good work either. But I can't say it's bad. It's far from bad. Yeah, okay, so I will be going into spoilers for this video, so if you want to skip to the spoilers, you can go to this timestamp right here, and you can skip over to that if you just want to hear spoilers, but I would not recommend that because I'm going to be talking about everything throughout the video. Okay, so, first of all, people have a lot of problems with the politicalness of this book, and I understand that a little bit. I'm definitely on the opposite side of King, and I know Mr. Lauren, the video I watched right before this to, like, get me thinking about all that bad stuff. He's on the same side, but he hated the amount of politics in this book. Me, I didn't care for it too much. It's like, it's not a problem because it's not ingrained within the book. There's parts ingrained, but it's not so deep and completely off balance to one side that I'm like, I don't like it. To put it as a comparison, there's this book, Insomnia, which is so off balance that it literally hurt to read. I could not read this. I finished it, but it really hurt to read, and that completely threw off my love for this book, because I'm sure I would have loved it a lot more if it had not had that political message. But this book, it was ingrained, but I didn't disagree with it. I didn't care. I don't think it was horribly pushing this one ideology. So I had no problem with that part. I was really caring more for the story than anything else. But the characters, okay, so I'm going to be getting to plot in a second, because that's the one I'm going to talk a lot about. But first of all, characters, we had, I believe, 4 main characters or so. Yeah, 4 main characters in this book that were very cliche. They were so predictable. They were so normal. Like, we would have been able to guess them from, like if you were to ask me, what did you think the Doctor would be like before I had read the book, I would have been able to tell you exactly what the Doctor would have been like. And I would have been able to do that for every other character. The main character, he's so basic. He doesn't do anything. He's so normal. Like, people, you know, I said I praised this book for its character, and although it had really strong character and it had some really good stuff, that book, the person in this book, I believe his name is Scott, he was a copy of Ralph without any of the cool stuff, so he's just like basic. None of the characters went through a really big change except for one of them, and that one character went through the dumbest change ever. It didn't make sense. I could not understand it, and just as Mr. Lauren had said, literally made no sense whatsoever. So I was just reading through it like, that doesn't happen. That's not how it works. What do you mean? And it was really throwing off my love for the book. And, you know, that happened, but, you know, it's okay. I still read it. It was still a nice read. I enjoyed the book. It was a really good read overall. So I still liked it in general, even though a lot of it didn't make sense. So much of it just didn't make sense. If you were to pick apart any single one scene and you were to just talk about it in the context of the book, it would just be like, that doesn't make sense. The ending doesn't make sense. The main conflict doesn't make sense. The character change doesn't make sense. None of that makes any sense. I didn't get that. I didn't understand it. I didn't like how he screwed all that up. But then again, you know, I breezed past it. I just accepted it and I went on without thinking. And really, if I tried to think about it, I was just, because I already know there are some books you just don't think about. You don't think about Something Wicked This Way Comes. You don't think about Ocean at the End of the Lane, which is right there. And, you know, if you think about these books, they don't make sense whatsoever. But I feel like that's the point of those books. You're supposed to just enjoy the feeling of those books. Whereas in a Stephen King book, you're supposed to think really hard about everything he's bringing to the table. And I just could not handle that. That was just so badly made, including all of the messages. There was, like, I could tell Stephen King was trying to put in a ton of, like, morals and messages and stuff like that. But to me, none of them made sense. They were just jumbled. They were messed up. They didn't work together. it was so badly put together that I hated that part. I didn't get anything out of the story, honestly. Like, there wasn't anything that he was trying to say. I guess he was trying to talk about acceptance at the beginning, but by the end he lost that completely, and we don't know what he's talking about. But then we get to the actual plot of the story, which again makes no sense. It doesn't add up. It doesn't work whatsoever, and it was so, like, I enjoyed the reading of it, but it didn't make sense. He tried to make it a very specific thing, like he was trying to say, okay, work together, but then it didn't work. It didn't make that really hard-hitting message come together properly. Like, he tried, but it didn't work whatsoever. But I think that this should at least live up to a little bit of what Stephen King has put up, you know? I expected this to be really nice, and although I did enjoy it, okay, let me get to that. I really did enjoy the book. It was a fun read. I enjoyed reading the entire thing. I enjoyed going through, seeing what would happen, seeing the conflict progress, and there was conflict this time instead of, you know, Gwendy's button box, which I don't understand. There was no conflict in this thing. Here there was conflict, and although it was kind of dumb conflict, I appreciated that there was one, even though there wasn't conflict at all, and I think that was my biggest problem with this book. There was no proper conflict going on. Here, there was, and so I appreciated that. I went through it wanting to see what else would happen, wanting to see what would come out of the situation. I wasn't very pleased with what came out, but that's kind of the point of a book, right? It had a very defined plot, and I knew what I was reading when I was reading through it. I believe that it did have a strong character involvement. I think the characters were really pushing through. They were making their own decisions. They weren't passive, and so this book, I did enjoy the read of it. I don't enjoy thinking about it. I don't enjoy deep diving into what this book meant or anything like that, into any of the political parts of it. A lot of it didn't make sense, but I did enjoy the read. So I did end up giving it a solid 3 stars, because it's not a bad book. It's not a book that I read and I was like, I did not like reading this book. I actually hated reading this book. And it wasn't a book that I was like, I don't like it. It was a book that I read and I enjoyed it to an extent, but it was just like, meh. It was kind of really dumb, but I would read it. I read it and I didn't hate reading it, and so I'll give it that 3 stars. Yeah, so that's kind of my non-spoiler review. If you want to read the book, I would definitely recommend it to people who are hardcore Stephen King fans. Don't read it if you're not. You're not going to enjoy it. I don't care like what kind of a person you are. I think left-leaning people will like it more than right-leaning. But I think that if you're fine with this kind of stuff, it doesn't bother you, if it's not punched into your face. It's kind of punched into your face at the beginning, and that hurt a little bit, but later on, it's not too much, and so I was okay with that. I let that, get in. But if you're too right, then I don't know if you'll like it that much. But in general, I don't think you'll hate it. Maybe you'll hate the plot, but not the actual politics and messages. The messages were dumb. I was kind of indifferent to them, so there you go. I don't think anybody would actually like to read this book. This won't be remembered for Stephen King whatsoever. So that kind of sucks. I was expecting a much better book than this, but I actually got a nice read out of it, so I can't complain too much. One more thing that I have to complain about. This book is actually tiny. Like, I thought that it would line up to be the same size as Gwendy's button box, but apparently not. It's much shorter, and that kind of sucks because I was gonna put them together, and they were up on my shelf, and that was kind of sad. So that happens. But thank you guys for watching this review. If you enjoyed this review, please leave a like down below and subscribe to the channel. Let me know any other reviews you want me to do, any other Stephen King books, and tell me what you thought of the book. I want to see what you guys thought of the book. I hope you did enjoy this review. Also, make sure to follow my Goodreads, which is linked down below, NervithZeno. Yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!